Hi everyone, and welcome back to my show. I'm Anja Braun, and this is English Breakfast. This week, we have another very special guest. All of my guests are very special. An influencer, mogul, person of the people. Maybe you know them from TikTok, I'm not sure. We have Bran Flakes.
Hi.
Yay!
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Before we get started, let's talk about the tea of the week. The tea of the week this week is not tea at all. It is an announcement. According to victimsofcrime.org, 1 in 5 girls and 1 in 20 boys is a victim of child sexual abuse. Quote, over the course of their lifetime, 28% of US youth 14 to 17 had been sexually victimized. Quote, children are the most vulnerable to CSA between the ages of 7 and 13. Quote, according to a 2003 National Institute of Justice report, 3 out of 4 adolescents who have been sexually assaulted were victimized by someone that they know well. The likelihood that those committing acts of CSA have also been victimized by CSA themselves are incredibly high. I have linked down below, as well as on the screen, several resources that you personally can use if you live in the state of Pennsylvania or in America to report CSA, as well as several resources as far as counseling, therapy, medical attention, etc. Or someone that you know has experienced or is experiencing CSA, I cannot quite literally stress enough that it is your responsibility to report it. Period. Back to the show. Bran Flakes is a Philly influencer.
Yes.
Gotta rep the city. Are you from Philly? You asked me that earlier. But
Yeah, I am. I mean, Philly people are so particular when you say you're from Philly. So, spent my early childhood in the Northeast. A family member passed, which is the only reason why we moved to the suburbs. People are like, you're rich, you moved to the suburbs. I'm like, no. My grandfather passed away, and my grandmother could not bear to be in that big home without him. And she was like, Lori, my mom, she was like, take my house, you have 3 kids, put them in the public school system here, which was very, very generous of her. So I grew up in the Montgomery County suburbs, which is 30 minutes outside of the city, but then I went to college in the city, and now I'm 27. So I've been here for 10 years. So I tell people that I'm Philly.
Yeah, you can say that.
Yeah, but there's bullies online who are like, you're a transplant. So
you're a transplant. First of all, what are we doing with the borders on Philadelphia?
I don't
it's not
know.
even New York. You can't even be like, oh my God, I'm from New York.
Yeah.
No, you're a transplant from Philadelphia?
Yeah.
Okay, you're doing the absolute most. I do have a question.
Yes.
Because speaking of, the haters, speaking of being online.
Yes.
When did you start posting TikTok videos?
3 years ago, January 2021. I was late to the game.
Yeah, because I was going to say, everyone says 2020.
Yeah, no, I don't know, 2020 was just a year of figuring things out for me. I was unemployed for the first 8 months because of the pandemic, and I was just really focused on finding my career, applying to jobs. And then when I got my job and started in August, I was focused on moving to the city and getting out of the suburbs, out of my parents' roof. And then everyone was telling me about TikTok, and everyone's like, Brandon, you're so funny, you have to download it. And I was just like, I'm already addicted to Instagram, I'm already addicted to Twitter, I don't really know if I want to get involved with another social media app. And then I finally just did it, and here we are.
I love it. Yeah. Do you regret it?
No, not at all. Of course not.
Of course not. When did you say, when would you consider your page popping off?
Oh my God, summer 2021.
Okay, so almost immediate. That's if you started in 2021.
Yeah, I guess it was kind of fast, but those 6 months between January and June where everything I was posting was getting 300 views was being an influencer is not hard. Becoming an influencer is hard, because it's that phase where everyone's talking about you. Did you see Bran Flakes trying to be an influencer? What is he posting? All of this stuff. And then you start to pop off and they all want to suck your dick. So it's...
Which to me is crazy because I think I'm living in such a state of delusion. I never even considered people talking about me, people from my hometown or whatever. I literally, it didn't cross my mind one time. I said, hi guys, welcome back to my channel. That was it. I just said no.
You really just have to act like that. You have to act like you're already famous, have so much confidence, and then people don't question it. If you seem like you're insecure about posting videos, it's going to translate.
For sure. Mm-hmm. Do you feel famous?
No. Oh my God.
You don't feel famous at all?
I guess I feel sometimes Philly famous. There's certain environments, if I walk into the bar on a weekend in Philly where a lot of my followers know me from party content going out, and Philly, sometimes I can feel I don't want to say famous, I would say recognizable. Like, I'll have people approach me, but in the grand scheme of things, 500,000 people know who I am. There's 7 billion people in the world.
Right.
It's not exactly great odds.
But it is, I mean, that's like a little town. Like, in ancient times, you would be like the mayor of a little town. You would have your own little country. Like, that's so cool.
Yeah, I feel recognizable in certain parts of the world, especially Philly. And I also feel like sometimes, like, I have eyes on me, like, when I'm doing certain things, but I wouldn't say famous.
Do you mean in real life or online? The eyes on you?
I guess in both. I mean, like, obviously there's eyes on me online just because there's 500,000 people that follow me. But then, like, in real life, too, like, in certain situations, like in Philadelphia, I feel like people sometimes are, like, looking at me or, like, debating on whether to come up and say hi to me, or they're like staring at me and they can't remember where I'm from. Like, they think that they like might have met me somewhere, but then there's like, oh wait, I know you from TikTok. Like, like there's like a very clear look when like,
I know the look on their face when
like
they're
someone's
like
about to approach you and you can tell they're like nervous, and sometimes I'll just be like, hi, and then they'll be like, okay, like make them feel safe.
Yes, no, literally like the look of like confusion and also excitement, and also like they don't want to be wrong. They don't want to be like, are you the girl from TikTok? And then be like, no, like who the fuck is that? So yeah, no, I had people like, you know, I have people who recognize me or whatever. Very cute, nice, 9 times out of 10, beautiful, gorgeous souls. I love them. They're perfect. But I was working. It's always funny when I'm like at my normie job. Yeah. I was working at a hotel. I was working at the A-Loft. That's right down here. Yeah. And I'm checking somebody in. I'm hungover. I look like shit. This is like my 5th hour here. I still have so much time left to go. I'm at like the verge. Like I can't do it anymore. And then they're like, you know, give me the face like, I think I know you. Yep. And I said, okay, from where? Because I never want to be like, oh, like from TikTok? Yeah, you know. Because you could know me in real life, and then I look like a raging bitch being like, oh, because I'm famous. So, yeah, no, definitely that, like, look and that vibe. Do you find that people, like, in that instance, I was not prepared to talk to anybody who knows me for being fun and cute and, like, you know, in a great space? Do you find that that happens when people are approaching you at times that are unsavory? Yeah, I think it's like sometimes there's awkward situations where like my social battery is not existent. Like I'm at a 0 and like I'm in a CVS like buying like an ointment and someone's like approaching me and I'm just like, hi, but like you can't be rude because then they'll go online and say, I had the worst interaction with a Philly influencer today. You can tell like he thinks he's such the shit. It's like, no, I literally was buying like an ointment for my dick. And you're like, I have a rash. Yeah. So and you approached me like in a state where I was like hungover or something. So that is like the weird thing. It's like you have to like kind of like almost like sign your soul. You honestly literally have to sell your soul to the devil to do this job. Like, just like constantly, like you never know what state of mind you're going to be like. Because there was like one night where like I felt very recognizable, like at Morgan's Pier, and me and my friends were just sitting down and everybody was coming up to our table, and like it was to the point where every conversation we were having was being interrupted, and my friend was like, Bran, I'm really sorry, but I'm leaving. Like I can't like be here right now. And then I was just in like a pissy mood, and I like threw a little bit of a tantrum online the next day because someone like commented on my video like, you didn't need to be an asshole to me last night. And I was like, I would see, this is what I'm literally and I learned a lot of lessons. That was now like almost 2 years ago, and I was just like, okay, like whether I like it or not, like if I'm agreeing to go out, I need to also agree to like be in the headspace to be friendly with people. Now, obviously, if someone's like disrespectful, like boundaries are boundaries, like have them, put them up, they exist for a reason. But in general, I love to say hi to people. I love to like be out and about and talk to people and get to meet my followers IRL in real life. No, it's so fun. Yeah. I think it's a good time. People, I know like a lot of people are not comfortable with it and would never be. Yeah. A lot of people, I feel like we went in an internet era from people making friends online because they cannot make friends in real life. No tea, no shade. But you know what I'm saying? That being like the OG internet vibe. Yeah. To then now people who are very social and you will see out, because if you're just a homebody who's gonna, you know, stream for 10 hours and then not leave the house, then you're not gonna be approached by anybody. So you completely cut yourself out of that. But the second that you, number one, say where you are, which we're going to talk about, and then number two, you actually leave the house, then it's a wrap for you. Then you do have to accept the fact that people are going to know you, they're going to recognize you, and that you don't have control over when that happens. You can go out looking great, looking so good, and nobody says a goddamn word. But once again, once you're in CVS buying ointment, everyone's banging down your door for like a photo. Do you feel like, because I know that for me, I didn't for a long time like post about like being in Philly. just because I don't feel like it was at that time relevant or, you know, that people really cared.
Yeah.
Since then, I have obviously done it because I want people to, like, you know, come to my comedy shows and, like, you know, be places where I'm at. Do you feel like that's like been an integral part of you posting about where you actually are?
I think that there's definitely like a part of my identity that's associated with Philly. But whenever I think of like content strategy, like I really do go by the phrase like think global, act local. Like I always want to be known as an influencer that lives in Philly, not a Philly influencer. So I'll make content about Philly, and it's always a sure bet. Like always content about Philly, like does well. People always ask me questions, but I only sprinkle it in because I don't want to be that person that's only Philly. And then like you get limited in brand deals, you get limited in opportunities. Like they just see you as your location. That's never what I wanted to be. Like I always want to bop around, but then like have part of my identity be like, I live in Philly. And people have like really tried to challenge that and be like, why don't you move? There's so many more opportunities in New York and LA. And I'm like, I won Philadelphia Influencer of the Year. If I lived in New York, I wouldn't have even made like top 50, top 100, top 150. Like I love being a big fish in a little pond. Like I feel like this is where I grew up. I feel like I have a lot of knowledge about the city in terms of going out, food recommendations, the people you meet here, dating, and that knowledge like helps me feel comfortable making confident content about it.
Right. And that's the thing that people want to know. Like, this is what I say to people in our whatever last week episode. I was talking about, you know, how you basically like curate your audience online and how you have to be really specific in what you're saying, what you're doing, all of that stuff in order to get the people in that you want to have. So there are tons of people who are, oh, just out of college, I'm moving to Philly, I don't know where to go, I don't know anything. Like, people forget that, like, just because you grew up here and just because you know where everything is, other people don't know that. And other people are looking for that information. So it's a great way to just, like, get in there and be like, hey, you guys, serve it right up. Like, this is where you go if you want to be turned. This is where you go if you want to chill vibe. Like, it makes sense. And I feel like people who are wanting to become content creators shy away from that for the fact that they feel like their life or their location is not interesting enough. When that's not the case.
No, you can make content about any location. TikTok is especially TikTok, it's such a niche platform. Like even if you just hashtag the county you live in, like it will show up on those people's like For You page.
Yes. I'm like speaking, this is a random aside. Do you see the girl on TikTok who is collecting her hairs?
No.
Oh my God, she's been collecting her hairs for like 3 years now. I'm so invested. And she keeps them taped to like a little piece of tape. And now she's got like a braid of hair.
God.
I know. I don't know how she's doing that or like where she's getting it from. Isn't that crazy?
People can do the wildest shit.
You can literally do anything. Anything. I think that's crazy. Anyway, that's just random for the people. In case you want to check her out, I will, leave her little link in there. So obviously, well, I mean, I don't know if it's obvious to the people. I'll ask you. Being an influencer is, you would say, your full-time job?
Yes.
Okay. Do you find that, because also from our last week episode, as we know, my page was hacked and I'm sick. So do you find the fickle nature of being an influencer for your like real job, like to eat and live, stressful?
No, definitely. I feel like I'm a very logical person, and the only reason I became an influencer full time was because I was actually losing money by working my 9 to 5. I was at a point where there was so much opportunity coming in that I was like, wow, if I'm spending 40 hours a week getting, working a 9 to 5, being in meetings for something I didn't love. Let me make that very clear. I really was not happy with my 9 to 5 career. I was like, I'm literally losing opportunities where I could be behind the camera filming videos, making more and more content, and potentially getting more brand deals. And I've been very privileged and fortunate that since I've made that choice, like I have not had the financial struggles that I actually was having when I was working a 9 to 5, which who knows how long that's going to last, but I'm very, like, I grew up from a lower middle class family. I'm very money cautious. Like everything I make, I save because one, you have to pay everything back in taxes like the next year. So it's like, you don't want to spend everything you got. And I live like very humbly. Like I have the same apartment I have when I moved in with my 9 to 5. I'm not the influencer, and no shade to them, that's like going to give you a designer bag haul. Like I want to save all of my money because one day, like I want to buy a house and I want to be able to like, raise children. That's like a goal of mine. And I buy what I need. Like, I'm like, if I want a cute new sweater, it's really nice that like I don't have to stress about it being $80. I'm like, okay, I can afford this. But I still am very frugal, because with that being said, you never know when your career could stop. Like, you never, eventually, for everybody, you enter a flop era that becomes like the flop. Like, there's going to be a time where I won't be able to be an influencer anymore, and I don't want to be like, wow, I have no money and now I need to go find a job.
And 7 Gucci bags.
Yes, like I will always want to have financial security. So even though I've been very privileged and fortunate to make a lot of money and like get a lot of brand deals and find a lot of success, I don't spend it. I typically save it. I've made connections with accountants, financial advisors, and like, how can I make this last as long as possible? Because I don't know how long the career will last.
Yeah. And I think that's why people kind of like dog on influencers for
sure
reaching out into other areas. Like, oh, you become popular and now you have songs out. Now you have a line for this. Now you have your own this. And people are like, oh, like whatever, you just become an influencer so then you can eventually sell us something.
Yep.
Hello? What do you mean?
That's why an influencer dies.
Yes.
The influence.
Why is it that people have a problem more if you're selling them something that's made from someone else than if you're selling them something that you have made yourself?
Yeah, it's very weird, the like negative connotation that surrounds the word influencer. And I don't think it's going to go away for a long time because it's still such a new job. Like, I feel like influencing the OG with like bloggers and everything on Instagram like probably started around like 2012. So we're like 12 years into it at this point, but it's like, think of every other career that's been around for like hundreds of years.
Right.
And people just don't understand that like, did you see the whole thing with Hailey Bieber recently where she made a video and she's like, I just got back from work.
Yeah.
And everyone was like eviscerating her, like work. And it's like, no, like her filming that video is work. Like me sitting here with you, this is work.
Right.
Like on a Sunday where everyone else is like watching TV and stuff, like you and I are working right now. Like you're going to go home and edit this. You are home. You're going to edit this. You're going to produce it. You're going to post it. Like you had to reach out to me to get me here. Like we had to schedule this like
for weeks. Like, let's just be clear. Like this is not like hey, let's like come over and let's hang out. Because once again, this is somebody's schedule. This is somebody's job. So if you want this to be your job, then you have to act like it's your job.
Yeah. So it's very interesting. Like I guess like the lack of respect that I think a lot of people have. But I will say this, when people then try to do it, like I will get so many texts that'll be like, Bran, I've been trying to make a TikTok video for 3 hours. I don't even understand how the app works. Like, how do you do this like every day? And I'm like, yeah, like there's a lot more that goes behind the 20-second video that you see every day.
Yes. And it's the ways that people, I feel like they also devalue it because obviously it's like the most popular thing right now, especially with TikTok. Mm-hmm. But if somebody says like that they're a full-time artist for their life, you're like, oh, like that's so cool. But you don't see them making art.
Yeah.
You only see when their painting is done and you think, oh, that must have taken many hours. Whereas an influencer could be posting a video and you see that video and all you think is what you saw. You don't see any of the things that went behind that, who you had to get, what you had to do.
Yeah, and I think it's this like thing where it's like, well, not anyone can be an artist. Like you have to have a good singing voice or you have to be like really talented at drawing or painting. And it's like, but anyone can be an influencer. If anyone could be an influencer, then everyone would be an influencer. There are so many people who are not comfortable being behind camera, not comfortable filming themselves, like not comfortable being vulnerable.
Or even, I'm going to interject, or even if they are comfortable doing all of those things, then they're not going to be comfortable with you're a fucking ugly bitch.
Yep.
Die.
You literally.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Oh, okay.
It's so true.
Okay. Even if you get through all of those points, is it really mentally worth it to be like, oh, like I personally feel as though I think that TikTok comments, obviously they can be crazy, but they're not nearly as just purely vulgar as YouTube comments. YouTube comments are fucking crazy. I got hate mail via email the other day, which was a nice long paragraph, about how you should never open your mouth again, yada, yada, yada. I said, oh my God, an email, thank you. Yeah. That was so professional. That's so sweet. But when you go to like your normal job and people are like, oh, like, I'm never coming here again. Like, screw you. It's like, oh, okay, like, I really don't care. But when you have an idea in your brain and then you put it out for people to see, and then you, with your own eyes, on your own account, on your own phone, like you're minding your business, you just get to your phone notifications of people giving you immediate critiques on that content, that changes things too.
Yes, 100%. You're signing up to be perceived 24/7, and it's crazy.
Yes.
You're signing up with dealing with people on the internet, like, and you learn quickly that people on the internet do not critically think. They are not patient. They are Karens, the whataboutisms. You're drinking tea. What if I don't like tea? Like, it's...
Then choke.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
I saw somebody be like, you know, like on the food videos, they'll be like, oh, this is eggnog. Can you do it without dairy? I'm allergic. It's eggnog. No, you can't do it. Like, what do you mean? Can you do it without eggs? No. No, you can't.
The Gen Z Karens.
Yes. It's really crazy. Like, I feel like we got to a point where obviously everyone's very pro diversity inclusion. And that's awesome. Once again, though, like, let's use our brains and think, maybe not everything is for me. Like, that's okay. It's okay that certain things are not for certain people. If you don't vibe with it, move on.
Yep.
That's how I feel.
Agreed.
I think it's crazy. I think for me personally, and I don't know if you like relate to this, but you get to a point where, because you're also the other side of it that can really go left, is the fact that you're hearing all these great things about yourself, additionally from people who don't know you.
Yes.
So it's really important for me, and I think for other people, to take both of those things with a grain of salt. It's not... Either way, they don't know you if they are praising you or hating on you. So you really just have to accept it for what it is. Like, not letting those things go to your head and not letting the hating things go to your heart.
100%.
Is the only way, I feel.
What people, like, people's perception of you, like, it's only reality to a certain extent. Like, at the end of the day, like, these people are online. They are not in your real life. So it's, you need to remember that. And that's hard to remember when your whole career is rooted in being online.
Right. And you also have the opportunity to hear feedback, which is always like, can be good. Like you can actually fuck up. Like, just because you have a bunch of followers, you know what I'm saying, doesn't mean anything. So if a bunch of people are like, hey, that was really like offensive or whatever, then okay, maybe let's start investigating. But if one rando is like, I hate your sweater, okay, then that doesn't really mean anything. I remember you posted, I think it was around your birthday, like the, little kid picture of you with the brats and everything.
Size.
Yes, that was so cute and adorable. And I remember you made a video where you were talking about like, like growing up, like the version of like the sexy gay who's like super buff and like, very like Ken doll vibes. And you're like, I did not feel that way. Like, that wasn't your experience. Do you think, or like, do you find it interesting, I guess, now that in many ways you are getting to be the poster child for what that is?
It's so funny when you're in like a marginalized group, you find your biggest advocates and your biggest haters. And I don't know if you feel the same way. It's like, I will get like the most vicious comments from people in the LGBT community that are just like, you're a sellout. All you do is hang out with straight women. You're straight wash. Like you talk about Philly. You never even go to the gay bars. Like, and it's just so crazy how like people are so obsessed with, they want to put you in one box. It's like, you're gay. That's your whole personality. Why aren't you hanging out with all these gay people? Why aren't you doing more for the LGBT community? Why aren't you doing this? And it's just like, can I live? Like, can I like just be myself? Like, I never, like what I was talking about in that video was just like, when I was growing up, like the gay people that I saw on the media was like Christian from Clueless, like the fabulous, like dressed like this. And then the cheerleaders in Bring It On who were super buff, and the guys in Sex and the City were like Miranda and all of them would be like, why is it the gay guys who are always the hottest and all of this stuff? And I was like, okay, well, I'm fat and like I'm eating Burger King and like I don't feel that way, and like I actually like hate working out, and I hate when girls are like, oh my gosh, you're gay, let's go shopping. Like, I don't want to be your fucking accessory. Like, I never like identified with that, and I've never really cared about like who someone, like I've never been like, oh, you're gay, I want to be your friend because I like want a gay friend. I'm just like, I've never cared. Like, do I wish I had like more gay people in my inner circle? Absolutely. But I'm not like gonna like seek out friendships just because of someone's like sexual orientation, the same way I wouldn't discriminate against someone because of their sexual orientation. So it's just like so bizarre, like what people like expect of you, and like I really do feel like people want to pigeonhole you all the time.
They do, and there's always this like a thing, it's like a real thing, I don't know from where, but just believe me, that's real, that when you, especially, are like a person who's in front of a lot of people, essentially that the like more morally high that you present yourself, the higher standard that people hold you to, and
Yes.
therefore the easier it is for you to be knocked off of that and people to dislike you.
Yes.
That like turn from like, oh, like I'm so good and so nice and I never use any curse words and I donate to charity, and then somebody sees you, you know, walk past a homeless person and not give them money, and then all of a sudden they're way more angry.
Yes.
If
So true.
as opposed to if you were a person who was already like, fuck homeless people, I literally don't care, then they're like, okay, that's just them.
Yeah. It's almost like sometimes better to be like as shallow as possible. It's
Right.
like you don't like, it's such a weird trade-off. It's like if you want to get people's respect, then like you have to feel like you have to constantly like earn it every day. Whereas people who like don't give a fuck about it, it's almost like they get a pass. It's nuts.
Right. That's like one of the things that I feel like I try and make very clear. I think a lot of people, like a lot of creators, because it's their own personality, they're good at doing that. I think you're good at doing that.
Yeah.
Not putting yourself up on this pedestal of like, you know, moral high ground to where,
Right.
oh, like I'm, you know, you're going to see me at every single protest and you're going to see me every.
Yeah. It's just like for me, it's one, not everything needs to be done online, especially because you can't win. Like if I went right now and did something so kind and did a whole video, one of the top comments I bet would be, why'd you have to record this? Like you can't win. And it's like I could say because I have a big platform and I want to inspire others, but it seems performative. And it's just like not everything needs to be for everybody. Like I didn't make my page a social like justice page. If I wanted to, I could have, and I could have made my whole page about activism, but that's not what I was passionate about. It doesn't mean I'm not passionate about human rights and everything. It's just I wanted my page to be about like honestly lighthearted, funny moments that people could go to when they're having a
God
bad
forbid
day.
people smile.
Yes.
We're living in this shit every day.
Like there are plenty of other creators that have more knowledge than I do, that have, you know, more understanding, more experience, and have better intellectual speaking skills about certain things. And there's also the news. Like if you want to, you know, digest content that is super like controversial and super like, you know, like
Heavy.
ingrained. Yeah, heavy content. It's out there. That's not my page. If you don't want to see lighthearted, funny videos that are silly of me talking in a green screen, then don't follow me.
Right. It doesn't have to be that. I feel like people, I mean, they do it with celebrities too. And it's like, why isn't Dua Lipa speaking about so-and-so? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Why are we asking Dua Lipa? Who are the people who actually know the things?
Right.
How about we listen to them? Nobody wants to listen to people who actually, that's their thing.
And that's so, it's so weird because people's like defense is because you have a platform, Everyone's definition of using your platform for good is different. For some people, it's very literal. I'm using my platform to raise money for charities, to raise awareness about social justice. Me, using my platform for good is improving people's mental health every day by hopefully just making them laugh and forget about whatever it is that's bothering them in their real life, and they can just like have a silly, goofy video. Like that's my using platform for good. So it's very interesting, like what people like expect from you.
I agree. I think it's crazy. I mean,
tea after that.
I feel like I know personally, I would say only like a handful of influencers. I don't really, in the same way, I'm not really like out to like make friends with people who are influencers, probably because I have internal influencer bias, which is I'm like, you guys are weird. Like, I don't like you. Stop doing that. So, but I think a lot of people are. I mean, they're just like normal people. Sometimes they're like cringy and stuff in real life. I don't like that. I also don't like when people are like, oh, like, I don't know if you've had this happen, but in like a normal social setting, you know, we're all here to do something and we're all interacting a certain way. And then when it comes up that you have a lot of followers, then people start to change the way that they talk. They start to change the way that like maybe now you're in the back of my selfie. Now maybe, oh my God, haha, I love your shoes. I think that's so cool. Yeah. Have you had this happen?
Of course. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not cute.
No, it's weird. It's like social climbing, but like just like ingenuine, and like I don't really like ever like get what the motive is. It's like, what do you think is gonna happen? Like, do you want like some attention? Like, do you want some of like my clout? Like, that's not really like how that works. Like, people don't care. Like, they barely care about me.
Right. Like, I'm fighting for my life to get these videos out.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
They are just scrolling away. It really doesn't matter.
I've definitely like seen like a little bit like people will like whisper and be like, oh, you're doing that brand deal. Like, who's your contact for that brand? Or like, how much are they paying you for that? Like, oh, because I'm only getting paid this. Like, which honestly happens in my corporate role too. Like, people will be like, oh, like, this person asked you to do this task. Like, why did they ask you? Or, oh, you're getting that promotion. Like, I thought I've been working here longer than you. Like, I thought I would get that promotion. Like, competitiveness exists in every industry. It's not just exclusive to like influencing at all. But yeah, I've definitely like noticed like side eyes, and then like you're at an event and someone who has more followers than everyone, like everyone kind of flocks towards that person. It's so interesting.
When you're making content, do you find that you have like a place that you feel like your ideas are coming from?
Literally no. Like, I will get an idea.
Yeah.
Like, I could stare at like one of your decorations and like think of a memory that I repressed and been like, oh, that was so funny, I should make a video about that. Like, I have like a list in my notes app where I just like write random thoughts. Like, if anyone discovered it, they'd be like, what the fuck is this? Like, I remember like one of them said like, Froyo had us in a chokehold. Like, just such a random niche thought that like one day when I'm like, oh, I need to post a TikTok today, like let me like review what I've written down. I'll be like, Froyo had us in a chokehold. Okay, how can I make a video about that? Do I want it to be a skit, or do I just want to like talk about it? Do I want to like use a green screen and show old photos of me? Like, weird ideas and thoughts. Like, I'm kind of like a stream of consciousness. That's how like I flow.
I would agree. I do the same thing. You get to a point when something like when I feel like a lot of people have this feeling when you notice something. You know, a lot of mine happen like interactions with other people. When I made the ally stare video, and I'm like, this really happened. This happened, and they were looking at me so strange in the eye, and I'm thinking, what is your problem? Like, you know what I'm saying? You have these moments that stick out to you, and I feel like it depends on just what you do with that. A lot of the times they just, you know, people just let them go and think, you know, nothing of it.
And I will say this, like, that's kind of like interesting too. Like, when I became a full-time influencer and I worked from my house and I had like kind of less human interaction that I was like when I was working a corporate job, like I did feel a little stifled. And like you like need human interaction to like observe how people act and like talk about, at least for my page, like I always talk about like dating, relationships, friendships, like any kind of like behavior, but you need to kind of immerse yourself around people to like notice different things and talk about different things. So it's hard when you're like kind of in your room, like constantly just like filming things and then like, what the fuck do I talk about next?
No, literally. I mean, that's what they say, that, you know, you have to be in the world to make reflections about it. So
yes, that's the perfect way to put it.
Get outside. You know what I'm saying? Like, there'll be like, if you are feeling artistically stuck, you need to go outside without any music, without any, you know, other distractions. Cause I feel like that's such a huge thing now too. You know what I mean? Like, you can't do anything without staring at your phone. You could be outside and still not
be present.
Yeah. And I think that's the best. I think that's when the best content is made, when you're present for the idea and you're also present for the execution.
Yeah.
I think that's like the winning combination. It's so good. What do you think? So Bran does have a podcast.
I do.
Yes. Lots of things going on. What do you think is your favorite thing about like what you have going on right now?
I think the podcast is definitely like, I was feeling so unrewarded by TikTok, even though like the financial compensation was coming in, like because of just like the volatility of the algorithm and unpredictability. Like even right now, like I'm in a bad mood right now because I just posted a video that I thought was so funny. I'm like, why did it flop so hard? Like, what is it? And it's so silly, but when this is your job, you like kind of have to care. It really does matter. It becomes like, oh, like this video is doing bad. Like, am I doing bad right now? Like, are people over me? Like, it's like a weird like inflection of like, you second guess. The imposter syndrome is like always there. So I'm like, I really wanted to build out a different platform that could turn into another stream of income. But for right now, it's like therapy for me, just like sitting down with my 3 best girlfriends and then they're involved in it too. And just like building a deeper connection with my audience where they're not just watching a 15-second video that may or may not show up on their FYP. They're like getting to see an hour of me each week and hear from me. And that's been like really fun. I'm excited for like the direction that might go in.
No, I think that's really good. That's what this is. I love it. I stopped for the last like year because I would be making like commentary videos, a lot of like anti-scam commentary, because that's what I was into and that's what I like to do. Like, I don't want Black women specifically to be getting scammed by, you know, pyramid schemes and shit.
Yeah.
And I'm very interested in it. So I have a lot of commentary content around that on my YouTube channel. And that's kind of what then led into this, is that, you know, what if I could do that and kind of combine the TikTok and combine this and, you know, get something, you know, get to a nice place. I think that's it's a fun place to be.
I agree.
I think it's good. I feel like one of the other things that I personally have loved so much about your TikTok and about the things that you have said has been about your income transparency.
Yes.
I think that that's been huge because they say that being an influencer is the number one job that kids want to have.
Yeah.
And there's not really other jobs that you just don't know what that means as far as being able to survive, getting money. You could say, oh, if you go to school to be an accountant, you can make $70,000. Okay. You could say, you know, if you're a doctor, you're going to make this much. So no one's really talking about, I feel for the fact that they are, I don't know if it's like a level of like embarrassment even, like to be like, it's not enough no matter what it is, even if it's great to be like, oh, well, like, you know, that's not enough because you're exposing, you know, your stuff to everybody. But I think that that is more important than just keeping it, you know, everyone keeping it to themselves.
Yeah. What
is the most amount of money that you have turned down?
5 figures. I will not work with like brands that I feel like don't represent me. So when my account started, it was very like party content, and I rejected like probably a sickening amount of money from jewel companies. I have no issues with anyone who jewels.
I do.
No problem at all. But it's not for me. I love a drunk cig here and there. I just don't jewel. I never have. I don't vape. But because it would have made total sense. I could have made a slamming ad that would have been so authentic, but I don't do it. And it's also not something that like I necessarily want to encourage other people. I also recently turned down a big offer from DraftKings Casino app because I also don't gamble. So I'm not going to make content about one of two things. One, something that I don't feel is authentic to me, or 2, something that I wouldn't necessarily want to influence people to do because like I know of the struggles that could lead, like it could lead to a potential addiction. And I know that some people might say, well, Bran, is not a little hypocritical because you do alcohol ads, but I do drink, and I really feel that like if I'm working with an alcohol brand, I usually do it in a way where I'm like, here's a way to make a good cocktail. Sure, could it lead down to someone potentially having an alcoholism problem? Yeah, absolutely. But I don't know. Does that make sense? Like I just wouldn't, I felt like at least that's authentic to me, and I don't know. I just wouldn't want to make a video or a sponsored post about something that I don't really like stand behind.
No, I agree. And you know, when you have like a certain kind of thing, you know, that is that brand's job, is to find people who do that kind of thing. Like there's nothing wrong with them coming to you for it. However, you like, that's the best part. You are in the position to get to choose what you're gonna do and say and who you're gonna do that with. Right. And I think obviously like when you're first starting or whatever and you don't really know what the fuck is going on, like you don't know what is going on, then it's obviously a lot easier to get caught up necessarily doing things that you maybe don't love. Right. Which I don't blame people for either. Like, if you want to do a DraftKings ad, you know what I'm saying? Like,
no, and that's
like, go at it.
It's like, I'm always pro get your bag. But I think when you are actually thinking about pursuing influencing as a full-time career, part of getting your bag means having integrity and creating a brand that, like, makes sense, and you have to think of the big picture. So it's like, I might have passed up, let's say, $10,000 by not working with a vape company, but I might have lost money from working with that vape company in the long run because maybe people would have been like, this is an authentic brand, and unfollowed me and then stopped. Because
then the drama that comes when you say, I don't vape, and then they say, wait, I saw an ad for you with a vape, and then now you're a liar, you're a scammer, you're...
So in the beginning, like if you get offered a first brand deal and that's going to help you like pay for the camera that you're going to use to film the rest of the videos, I understand. And I would never judge somebody, but think about like where you want to see your brand online go. And if there's another company that isn't going to help you get there, even if they're going to financially support it, you have to know when to say no, for sure. You can't say yes to everything. And that's like a skill that you kind of learn early on, because in the beginning you're so excited with any opportunity, you want to say yes to everything, but then you like start to remember like, oh, I physically cannot. Your schedule starts to become too hectic, you have too many things going on, you're over promising and under committing. Like it's just, you have to pick and choose.
For sure.
Yes.
Before we wrap up, I like to give my guests the opportunity to ask me one question. This is called Ask Anja.
Oh
It
my
can be about the
gosh.
topic. It can be about whatever you want. So I'll give you just, a little bit of time, think of something, and ask away.
What do you think the internet is missing right now? Like, what is there not enough content about or not enough creators doing? And how do you see yourself fitting into that potential white space on the internet?
Well, we know that we're heading towards, especially with TikTok, an era of longer form content, even though the general consensus is like, oh, people's attention spans are getting shorter, but we've seen a recent change in that, and also in the fact that because people's attention spans are getting shorter, people don't necessarily want to be scrolling through 100 1-second videos as opposed to getting to actually sit down and talk with someone. So I think that we're going to go back to not the TikTok get ready with me era, but I think we're going to go back to like the YouTube era of get ready with me. Like the YouTube version of, this is a tutorial and these are the actual things that I am doing and I am talking about it and you are gaining information. Or like, this is me, talking instead of just like, these are all the things that I'm doing today with less words. I think that what I do, or at least what I would like to, fit in the space, is using my voice and sharing not only like opinions and stories that have, kind of like fluff, but also things that have real substance that are not like dragging. Like, okay, yeah, you can have something that is, filled with substance and information and be so fucking boring to watch. No one is ever going to see that.
Yeah.
So I think that making a combination of things that are important, things that are funny, and things that are artistic, putting those all into one longer form content, especially for TikTok, and especially with using my words and using my voice, that is what I would like to see. And that's what I would like to do.
And you're doing it.
We're doing it!
Yes.
Well, we did it, everyone. Thank you so much, Bran, for being here.
Thank you.
It was amazing. Thank you so much for watching. This was our episode with the Bran Flakes. I hope that you enjoyed it just as much as I did. If you did, leave a comment. Tell me what you learned. Tell me if you want to be an influencer. If you think that you have what it takes to become America's Next Top Model. I'm Anja Braun. Make sure that you're following me everywhere. Have a great day. Have a great life. Do what it is that you do. And follow me for more. Bye. Cheers.